All right, let's start here by creating some endpoints in the instructor course controller. And we'll start by creating an action to return a list of all the courses that the instructor is teaching. So in the instructor course controller, we'll do public function index. And here I'd want to return a course resource, which we don't have yet. And I'd like to create an action that retrieves a list of the courses for the instructor. PHP artisan, make resource, enter, and we have that resource created. Let's create an action. So PHP artisan, make action. I'll put this in a course subfolder and I'll call it get instructor courses action. It's really important that you name your actions in a meaningful way so you can actually tell what they're doing. Even though the names may be long, this is really crucial because when you start creating so many actions, you need to be able to figure out which action is doing what. So I'll create that action. And here in the index method, we can directly call the action to pull the list of the instructor's courses. So get instructor courses action, and we'll call the run static function there. And once we implement that, we expect to get a list of courses. So we'll just return a course resource collection and pass it the list of courses that we get from the action. So this should be courses. And if we go to the action, let's implement the query to retrieve the courses. Of course, this is just a list of courses taught by the currently authenticated user. So all we need to do here is just do a return auth user courses. And because we have already put the relationship between courses and users, this should just return a list of courses taught by that user. Now, if at the end of the day we want to introduce pagination and everything like that, we will simply come and update this function and it should just work. But the controller doesn't need to know all of that. And that is one of the benefits of extracting things in actions. You can leave your controllers the way they are and make the changes in your action classes, and that should just be fine. It should just reflect the new state of your application. So let's go to our API routes here, and we're going to create a bunch of routes for the instructor. So to keep that clean and tidy, I'm going to create a section here and I'll call it instructor routes. Okay. And this is where we're going to place all the routes related to the instructor. When we start accessing courses, we will be creating things like sections and lessons and things like that. And for that to happen, we'll be creating things like endpoints like courses, sections, for instance, and the title of the section, the ID of the section. So for instance, courses, the name of the course, and then sections. And what we want to do is do an automatic wiring so that each time we pass the section or an ID for a section, Laravel automatically only searches for the sections related to this course. Okay? Otherwise, we will get inconsistencies at some point where users can manually have a different course ID and a different section ID. And if we're only looking for the section ID without binding it to a particular course, then it will return that section and things become inconsistent in the front end. So we can tell Laravel to automatically search for sections that are related to this course. For that to happen, we can just declare a route group here and we say scope bindings, okay? Laravel will automatically scope all the child queries to whatever the parent of that route was. So it will scope all sections to the related course. It will scope all lectures to the related section and to the related course and things like that. So this will wire things up for us really nicely. So let's go to group function, and that's a route group. In here, we are going to create another route group and just declare some of the functionality for the instructor. So the middleware, of course, before you can access this, you have to be authenticated. So we are going to declare the middleware as auth sanctum. We also want to have a prefix for all instructor routes. So if you're accessing an instructor route, we want it to start with instructor / whatever the route is. So we are going to set a prefix here and we'll call it instructor. And then we can wrap that in a function, and all the endpoints for an instructor will come in here, okay? Now we are going to be creating lots of endpoints for instructors. So we'll have endpoints for courses, for course targets, for course pricing, coupons, and things like that. We are going to wrap all the actions that belong to a single controller in a controller group, just like we've done in the past here by specifying the controller, and all the methods that are found in that controller will be found in that controller group. So in this case, let's start with the instructor course controller by just defining controller here, and we state the controller as instructor course controller group. So I'll just call this courses basic information. So here we can just say route get, and in this case we just want to get a list of courses for the instructor, and that will call the index method. And if we head over to Postman, we already have a route for it. If I send a request, you see it does return a 200 response, which is good, and it doesn't return anything, which is expected because we haven't created any courses yet. So in the next lesson, we are actually going to create a course and see how the response works from the client side.